Whoa. Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? It's your boy JFK, man. We are here. Thank you for being here, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on? How have you been? Mark, I see you. Like, my guy, WhatsApp message me, I beg. There's a lot going on. Yeah. Please, my people, if you are here, let me know you are here. Let me know you are here. Let me know you are here. Let me shout you out. Let me shout you out. It's been a couple of days. There's a lot going on. And you're welcome. This is JFK Live, man, on Facebook, on YouTube. We're doing it. We're doing it big. How far, my people? What's going on? What's good? What are you eating? What have you been chopping? Talk to me now. Let me know what's a good recipe. It's been a minute, and there's a lot that's going on. There's a lot I got to say to all my people online, man. We're talking about all some of the stuff doing, on my page right now. The Kente issue. Are you wearing your Kente? Where is your Kente for solidarity? I know a lot of our people. We had that conversation. Listen, I don't have a problem with the Kente. I don't. I just feel like there's a lot that people are already doing. Just do the stuff. Just do the stuff. And the Kente thing is good, but do the stuff. Do the stuff. Do the stuff. So it's not like I have issues. I don't have issues with everybody doing Kente. You know what I'm saying? But more than Kente. This is more than Kente issues. What I'm trying to say. Some of my people are like, nobody are trying. I know, I don't doubt that. But this thing is more than Kente issue. That's all I'm saying, man. You don't need that, especially for like the Democrats. Like they're already doing legislation that that shows where they stand. Pelosi and them, the legislation they passed is one that covers a lot of ground. You don't need to dress up when you're doing the work. Because what happens is the focus goes off of what you're doing. It goes off on what you're doing with the photo op. That's all I was saying. I mean, some of my friends, I don't have a problem with them dressing up in solidarity with the Kente. I don't have a problem with that at all. As a matter of fact, it's a good thing. But what I'm saying is, while we are in this moment, don't do anything that's gonna make it look like you're just trying to ride the moment politically, or you're just trying to be, gimmick the whole thing out. That doesn't make sense. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Like you don't need to do that. You don't need to wear the Kente, Pelosi and them. You don't need to wear it because you're doing legislation. You're putting up laws that are really addressing the issue. Focus on that. Make that announcement. Go with that. You don't need the Kente. I don't have a problem with it, but it's just unnecessary and it's distracting because what's happening now is like people can have a conversation about what you were wearing, when they should be talking about the law you put up, your legislation. You got to bring the focus to the legislation. The kneeling down and the Kente dress and all that's a side issue. That's a side conversation. But when the side conversation takes over, no one can see the legislation. And then so people say, "Oh, I'm guilty of it." No, I'm talking about strategy. That's all I'm saying is strategy. Going forward, you don't need to do all the theatrics. You don't need it, especially if you're already doing the work. That's all I'm saying. So for my people out there, I don't mind the Kente at all, but I just have to put that out there. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Talk to your boy JFK. We live, man. Just having a good time, whatever, man. Just doing it. If you're here, let me know you're here, my people. Put on some comments over there. And I put on my post right now that I want to open up with like a statement of my feelings towards the president, Donald J. Trump. I wanted to put something up about, how I feel about it, because I feel like when we're having conversations online and you say something or you criticize the president, a lot of people want to immediately just put that up to the fact that you hate Trump. Everybody just thinks you hate Trump just because you're saying the stuff that you're seeing. And that's not true. That's not the issue. Let me tell you something. I do not hate Donald Trump. First of all, I can't hate him. As a Christian, I don't have permission to hate. I can strongly dislike. I can be very cross, but I can't hate. So I don't have that relationship with Trump where I hate him. There's no point hating him. Second of all, the second point I'm saying about why I don't hate him is because he's who he has always been. He is who he's always been. He's always been like this. He was elected like this. You know what I'm saying? So you can't really hate somebody if they show you who they've been. Trump has always shown who he's been. As a real estate developer, he's been showing who he is. When he's stiffing contractors, when he's making people collect change in bankruptcy court after they worked for him, that's who he is. When he does the Trump University and it's a scam, that's who he is. When he pays off a porn star That's who he is. He made a cameo in an adult movie. That's who he is. I can't hate a guy who's never really hidden the fact that he scams people. What upsets me is that he's a president. That's the issue. I can't hate Donald Trump. I do not hate him. How can you hate a guy for being himself? What can you do? Ordinarily, it would not be my business at all. Ordinarily, I wouldn't care. It only matters because of who he is now. It only matters because he's the president of the United States with all the power and the influence that goes with that. So that's why I speak about it. That's why he's in my thoughts at all. It's because of his position. I don't hate him. I can't hate him. What am I going to do? Hate the guy because, of his intellectual deficiency? We all have our issues. I'm my height. He's taller than me. He's got that going for him. I don't hate him. So here's the issue. My problem is when people don't see what the rest of us can see. He is unfit for the office he holds. That's it. He's unfit. He's unfit for this office. That's all. Everything else is superfluous. If he was just another dude living like that and didn't hurt anyone, well, in this case, a lot of people say he's hurt a lot of people, then it wouldn't be an issue. But because he is the president, it changes the equation. So I do have feelings about what he does. I have concerns about what his actions and his words, not because I hate him. You don't have to hate him to be able to notice that he's a buffoon. That's not hate. That's an observation. No, it's not hate. It's a declaration of something that's real. If you looked at me now and say, JFK, man, I'm looking at you, for the average man, you're short. That's not you hating me. That's just you basically telling me what you observe. And so with Donald J. Trump, it's never about hate for me. It's about me pointing out things that we should know. It's about me pointing out things that are obvious. And the problem is that he's the president of the United States. He has so much power, so much influence. He has such a great reach. He has a great reach. So I do not hate him. I don't have to hate him to know that he's incompetent. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. I do not have to hate him to know that he does not have empathy. He simply lacks it. He can't do it. You can't give what you don't have. He made a condolence call to George Floyd's family and managed to upset them more. Bruh, not everybody can do that. Not everybody can do that. He called the man's family to give them his condolences, and he ended up making them more angry. He did the same thing to Sergeant LaDavid's wife. A condolence call. That is the ultimate, softball in terms of human connection. All you have to do is say, hi, I'm President Donald J. Trump, and I'm sorry for your loss. Your husband should not have died like that. I mean, it's easy. You could write a script. They probably wrote a script for him, but he couldn't deliver it without upsetting the family. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you right now, my feelings toward Donald Trump have nothing to do with hate or love. It has everything to do with the understanding that he's entirely incompetent. He's way over his head on this, way in over his head. He doesn't know how to do stuff. His bankruptcies were not, strategies. They were the outcome of being a bad manager. I don't pretend to be a great businessman, but I have seen great businessmen, and I know great businessmen and women. And I can tell that Donald Trump is not a great businessman. He might be a great showman. He might be a great con man, but a businessman, he's not. And that's what we're seeing right now, because managing an American economy in the middle of a pandemic requires a lot of business acumen. It requires political acumen. It requires intellect. Some of the nations that are coming out of COVID right now and doing well are doing so because they've been able to figure it out, because they have smart leaders. So that's the difference. So when you're talking about, Donald Trump, you don't have to hate him to know that he doesn't know what he's doing. And now you've seen a lot of people coming out, generals who've worked for him, coming out and telling you He's rubbish. But he's rubbish. And he can't help it. That's who he is. So the issue for us is, do we want to keep empowering this man to continue to hold the helm of affairs? You don't have to hate Donald Trump to know that he's rubbish as a president. That's my word. You don't have to hate him to know that. You could love him and know that. I bet his family members, some of them, maybe, okay, maybe one, love him. But they know he can't run the country. They know it. So I just want to, every time we talk about Donald Trump, some people come at me like, oh, why you just hate this man? I don't have time to hate him. I'm more worried about what he's doing to us, his presidency, and what that is doing to us as a people, as a nation, in immigration, in racial matters, in our economy, the trade war. You know what I mean? To our justice system. He just completely dismantled the justice system. You know what I'm saying? The DOJ, our law enforcement system, our intelligence operation, all of that has been undermined by this man. Part of it is because he wanted to protect himself from himself. The other part of it is because he is incompetent. He can't handle this. He never could. He couldn't handle his own business. And that's what we're seeing. He can't handle an economy in good times. Talk less of handling one in horrible times. So he's just unable to do well as president. You don't have to hate him to see that. You do not have to hate him to see that. Those who love him, those who worked for him, those who believed in him and went to work for him have come out of that, and they've now said, oh, there's a problem. So ladies and gentlemen, when you're talking about Donald Trump, think about what people are saying and don't try to just assume from what you know about them that, oh, it's all motivated by hate or even by love. I sometimes read statements and posts and comments and watch videos of people who I know who support Donald Trump. I don't assume that everything they're saying is just because they love him or they support him. I do want to look and say, okay, the facts that they're stating, are they correct? If the facts are correct, then what is the inference from that fact? That's the difference. That's the difference. If Donald Trump is doing something or saying something, does it make sense? Is it working? You know, you can do that. You can do that analysis. You don't have to hate him or love him to analyze what he's doing. You don't have to hate him or love him to know that when he says that the doctor should consider a way in which we can inject bleach into the system to kill the virus, you don't have to hate him to know that that's stupid. That's just dumb, no matter who says it. If Barack Obama ever says we should try, bleach or Clorox into our system to kill a virus, I would say that was a stupid statement by Barack Obama. It's not about who said it. It's about the statement. It's dumb. Now, in his case, because he has a string of dumb statements, you begin to ascribe the stupidity to him. That's all that's happening. Stupid statement, stupid statement, stupid statement. He might be stupid. And that's not to insult or abuse him. The word stupid in dictionary has a definition. It has a use. Stupidity is a thing. To be an idiot or to do something idiotic is a thing. And when someone fills that bucket, when someone does that thing that fits the word idiot, you say that was idiotic. When a person continues to do idiotic things, they might be an idiot because it's no longer just committing the act of idiocy. It's the fact that they're generating this idiotic behavior regularly, which makes me think maybe the source, the person who is delivering this idiotic stuff might be an idiot by nature. So in other words, I mean, it sounds like an insult, but these words have meaning. And that's what I'm saying. Every time I talk about Donald Trump or we post about him, don't always assume, oh, they hate him. Look, I could hate him, but I don't. Because if when he's no longer president and the next guy comes along, I have to deal with whoever that is and whatever shenanigans they pull. It's about the office he holds. You can't have someone be president and then tell me that, oh, why do you just hate him? No. What has he been doing? What has he been up to? This is the question we need to ask. And so I wanted to put that out there. It's not about hate. It's about who is this guy? What is he doing? What is he up to? You know what I mean? And today we're talking about a few things. Come on, my people, talk to me. Let me know you're here. Let me know you're here. What's going on? It's your boy JFK. I just had a quick rant about that because a lot of people come at me and say, "Oh, you just hate Trump." I've always said it. I don't have to hate him. I don't have to have that feeling towards him. But I can call out the stuff he does. And I feel like if we are trying to be reasonable people, we should have that ability to call out people whether or not we agree with their position. And I think that's one of the challenges I have with people who sometimes support Donald Trump, but they want to ignore the stuff he's doing. They want to ignore what he's saying. And unfortunately for many of them, you're becoming less and less in number, because even the guys who work for him, the generals who work for him, they're all coming out. They're all coming out. They're all coming out. And they're all saying the same thing that we've been talking about. They're all saying, "Oh, yeah, this guy is divisive." Those are things that are no longer like arguments. He's a divisive person. That's it. I mean, you can't just say, "Oh, I don't like what you're saying about him." That's fine. Question is it true? Is it true? And that's why I wanted to come out and say, look, when we're having this conversation, man, just understand it's not out of anything else but the fact that this man is doing some stuff as president of the United States that are troubling. And so you and I need to call it out. We need to call it out. We can't say because we don't want people to think we hate him, we're going to be quiet. It affects our lives. It affects our lives. His policies right now, have impacted, the way people are able to, file for their siblings, in terms of immigration. That's real. That's real. You know what I mean? Like, that you can't deny that. If you have a family member and, thank you. Oh, yeah, there you go. There are my people coming in. Yeah, man. Yeah, my pastor Yeshubo. Yeah, you say, yeah, by their fruits you shall know them. That's it. Thank you, Egbomi. That's it. It's what he's doing, bros. It's what he's doing. You can hold the Bible in front of a church, but if you're the same dude who's okay with putting kids in cages, there's a conflict. We know how Jesus feels about children. So you holding the Bible in front of a church does not answer the question of how you can be comfortable putting kids in cages. This is it. This is the inconsistency. I won't talk about his lifestyle or his behavior before that. I won't talk about all those other things that we know about him. What I'm talking about is, by their fruits you shall know them. What are the fruits of this man's presidency? Has he been a uniter or has he been a divider? Has he been somebody has he made everyone feel like they're part of this American family? Or has he succeeded in making some of us dislike the other side so much that we don't even want to hear their voices? Those are the fruits of his presidency. He did not, Donald Trump has nothing to do with COVID. Donald Trump is not responsible for COVID. He's just not. But he's responsible for the American response to COVID. He's responsible for how we deal with the pandemic. My people, come on, talk to me. Let's have some comments. Let's see. If you're here, let me know you're here. Let me know you're here, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I'm saying? So it's not about Donald Trump, the person, except to the extent that Donald Trump, the person, affects Donald Trump, the president. That's the connection. I could care less about him as an individual, but the effect of his presidency, I can't ignore. Donald Trump is not responsible for the death of George Floyd. He's just not. We know who killed George Floyd. We saw it in the video. We're not confused about that. But Donald Trump is responsible for how the nation responds to the death of George Floyd. He's responsible for how the government responds to the death of George Floyd. That's where he comes in. And that's what we assess. Amen. I mean, look, my sister Elizabeth, you're right. I mean, God will strengthen us all. So it's not about Donald Trump. The person is about what he does and what he says and how he reacts and the fruits of his presidency. And talk to me, people. I know everybody's on here. Let me know what you're feeling. Let me know what you're thinking. The thing is this. I know a lot of my Nigerian brothers and sisters, you like Donald Trump because on many levels. Let me break this down a little bit. So if you are here, please chime in, my people. Let me see my comments out here, man. I want to talk to you guys today. It's like I know a lot of people who have feelings for Donald Trump that are really strong. All right. And I try to not, I don't want to lose friends over this guy. I don't want to lose friends or relationships over Donald Trump. That's something we need to talk about. there should be a way to talk about politics and Donald Trump and everything without losing friendships. Well, let me put it as a question. Do you guys think it's possible to be on either side of the Trump situation and still have good relationships? What do you guys think? Because it's very easy. It's very easy to look at it and say, look, Donald Trump is divisive. Donald Trump is divisive. Yes, but is it possible? Is it possible that that it's bigger than that? Can we still have that feeling and still be friends? Can we still be friends? Can we all still be friends? Can you love Donald Trump? No, because my whole point of this rant is to say I don't love or hate him when it comes to conversations about him. That's not the point. The point is the fruits of his presidency. How are they? And for someone like me, these fruits of Donald Trump's presidency are the fruits of Donald Trump's life before the presidency. That's why I say I can't hate him. I don't hate him because he's always been this way, and I didn't hate him before. Now that he's president, I'm not going to hate him because he's president. I could dislike strongly. I could dislike him strongly, but I don't hate him. I don't hate him like this because I don't have the bandwidth to hate right now. Because hate requires a lot. I don't have that. But I can assess his presidency. I can talk about what he's doing. I can talk about the fruits of his presidency. We can discuss his reaction to stuff. The government's reaction, the American response to COVID, the American response to the death of George Floyd, the American response to the Ukraine issue, the American response to Russia and its interference, the American response to international affairs, the American response to the climate change issue, the American response to the United Nations, the American response to NATO, the American response to poverty among Americans, the American response to gun violence in America, the American response to shootings. Now he's president, so he gets to craft America's response to everything I've just said. So don't expect me not to voice out what I see as a consistent pattern of negatives with this guy. It's the fruits. What are the fruits? What are the fruits? What are the fruits of this man's behavior? What are the fruits of his lifestyle? What are the fruits of his presidency? What are the fruits of his presidency? That's the conversation. So whenever we're talking about Trump, I don't want people to just jump into, you love Trump, you hate Trump. No, the fact of the matter is some Trump supporters say things that make sense to me as somebody who does not support him. And I have to deal with that. For instance, if someone tells me that, okay, Donald Trump was right to question the competency and the neutrality of the W, guess what? I'm in agreement. With that. I believe that. But if someone is telling me that his response to that, which is to defund WHO and to pull out of it, that that response was the right one, I disagree with that. You see what I'm saying? I don't know if you understand. That's the dichotomy. There are things that you can tell me about Donald Trump and what he's doing that I can say I agree with, which is this. In many cases, Donald Trump is able to just voice out what a problem is. I don't give him credit for that because some of these things are too obvious. During the election, they kept talking about the system being rigged. He kept talking about politicians, being incompetent. Those are low-hanging fruits. You could say that. Anybody could say that because politicians are just like a big blob. You can hate all of them. You can disparage all of them. You're not saying anything new. If you talk about how America is divided, oh, America is so divided, that's not new. We've been known that. So just saying those things doesn't make you a genius. And I think that's one of the things that Donald Trump enjoys in terms of support. People say, oh, he says it as it is. Bruh, he ain't said nothing. China's cheating. Oh, snap. We didn't know that before Trump came on the scene. Of course we did. The problem is solving China's cheating requires a big brain because you don't want to hurt yourself so badly trying to prove a point to China that by the time you're done, your injury is so much worse than the injury you were trying to address, a la trade war. So identifying China as a problem is not unique. It's not something we've not heard before. But the next question is, what are you going to do about it? Trade war. That's dumb. You're an idiot. That's an idiotic thing. That's the 10th idiotic thing you've done. Yes, my sister. The fruit of his presidency is very controversial. He only cares for himself. That's what I'm talking about in terms of assessing Trump's presidency without hating him. You can say that this is a man who is selfish. You can say that because, you know, that's you can say that he's a selfish guy. And that's not hating on him. That's just observing him and listening to him and figuring out how he talks and what he says. So this is a man who is into himself. That's why it's hard for him to have empathy. That's why it's difficult for him to speak about others. That's why he couldn't even make a condolence call to George Floyd's family without upsetting them. Think about that. Think about that. He couldn't even just say, I'm sorry for your loss. We're going to do everything to make sure that he doesn't die in vain. Let me know if you need anything from the federal government. I'll be working with Congress. I'll be working with law enforcement, executives. We're going to find a way to make sure that this doesn't happen again. That's all he had to do with George Floyd. And all he had to do was listen. Just listen to Floyd's family. When they talk about their brother or their son, you just go ahead and say, wow, I didn't know that about him. That's all he had to do, bro. That's all Trump had to do so that he wouldn't upset the family of the man that died. He left a phone call for George Floyd's family and left them more enraged than before he called them. How do you do that? You just have to be a horrible condoler in chief. What? So when I now say he doesn't have empathy, it's based on what I've seen, man. It's based on what he's talking about. Did you realize that he Donald Trump said of the way the National Guard went through the protesters that it was like knife going through butter. The butter in this case are American citizens. And you can't lump all of them in with rioters because we've seen the videos. A lot of innocent protesters were dealt with by the police as if they were terrorists. And instead of the president to acknowledge that, he's excited that the police ran people down. It makes him happy. He said it was a beautiful thing. He said it was that psychopath talk. Like, it was a beautiful thing to watch the police crush through the crowd of American citizens. He loved it. As a matter of fact, he wanted the army to do it. Did you know this? Oh, let me tell you something. Well, who's listening? Did you know that Donald Trump had instructed the army to crush the protesters in Washington, in Minnesota? Do you know that the this general, is it Willie? I'm gonna get his name now. The general, the one that just apologized, he's the one who fought in the meeting and said, Mr. President, I don't think it's right for us to use the military to quell the protests. I have an idea. Why don't we tell the state to call the National Guard? They had to beg Donald Trump to let them use the National Guard and not the army to crush American citizen protests, because Donald Trump did not compute that when you use your army against your people, you have become Saddam Hussein. He has that tendency anyway. He loves to be a dictator. But the generals around him were shocked. They're like, bruh, no, this is America. We don't use the soldiers to fight Americans. We try not to. Are you crazy? Are you mad? So their reaction, hey, Sister Funke, what's going on? Good to see you. I'm not seeing my comments on my page here. I'm having to look at it on my Facebook. Yes, sir. Let me read my comments. Sister Funke, unique grace, good to see you. Let me read some of these comments. Yeah, my brother Francis Olojo, Trump is like Marmite. You either like him or you don't. He's not the conventional politician. He says that he sees it. Unfortunately, whatever comes to his head, he says it's sad. My brother, it's not just that he just says it as he sees it. My brother, he sees it in a selfish way. Oh, can I get a witness? That statement that Trump says it as he sees it is based on a misnomer. Trump says it as he sees it only after he has considered whether saying it will benefit him. This is the math he does on everything he does. People look at him right now and says, oh, he's saying it as he's seen it on behalf of law enforcement. I suspect that Trump's position, his inability to address this issue of the racial inequality and the reason why the protests are happening, his inability to give you an address, a national address on racial equality, is because he knows that he has a good portion of his base of supporters who do not want him to address racial inequality because they have staked their entire lives on the false premise that there is no racial inequality. Trump knows that. If he will really say it as he sees it, he would come out and say, Black people are suffering. They've been suffering since we got them here, and we got to do something about it. That is saying it as you see it. If you're seeing it the way everyone else can see it. No. Trump doesn't say it as he sees it. Trump said some things as he knows everyone can see it if it will favor him. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. That's the gimmick. That's the gimmick. When he talked about the Muslim ban, of course, we could all look at the fact that where are the terrorists based? You know, where's the caliphate? Where did ISIS reside? You know, Al-Qaeda, where Osama bin Laden. We can all do the math. We know where these guys are based in the Middle East. But we also know that not everybody in the Middle East is in support of the terrorists. We also know that there's a large population of Muslims in the world who are upset with what the terrorists in their ranks are doing. We know that a lot of Muslims have been the first ones to suffer at the hands of terrorists like ISIS, who go through from neighborhood to neighborhood, killing Muslims so they can set up their territory before they launch attacks on the West. So if you're going to call it as you see it, then you have to see better. You need to see better. Because if you're only seeing sections that favor your narrative, you're not calling it as you see it. You're calling part of it as you see part of it because it favors you. That's the thing. Donald Trump is not unique in that way. There's nothing Donald Trump says that we don't know. The only thing is that he picks out a part of what we know, and then he adds it to a conclusion that's horrible, and he presents it as truth-saying. And so it's up to us to listen to his nonsense, and that's rubbish. My sister Stacy is here. Stacy Chinemesima, good to see you, sis. She said, privilege is difficult to give up. They truly don't want to share that privilege. Let's be honest. Saying there is a racial inequality is just a band-aid. Yeah, that's my point. Thank you so much. Thank you. To deny the existence of racial inequality is not, for me, does not lead me to the conclusion that you don't see it. It makes me, because it's so blatant, it's forced into your eyelids, that you not acknowledging it is more a function of you understanding that by acknowledging it, you might have to do something. Oh, snap. Let's go there. Let's go there. And that's exactly what Sister Stacy's saying. If I acknowledge that there's racial inequality, if I acknowledge that, for instance, if I had white privilege, if I had privilege and I acknowledge it, if I have privilege over someone else and I acknowledge that, then it might mean that I will have to do something. And it might lead to me giving something up that I enjoy. Nobody wants to do that. And I understand that. I get that. I don't like to part with my things if I can help it. But what it makes it annoying is if you sit there and say, there's no racial inequality, just so you can keep the proceeds of the inequality that you're enjoying. That's where we have a problem. That's where we have a problem, because you know there's racial inequality, but you'd rather have that racial inequality than not have it. So this is my issue. For Trump supporters, this is my issue. Stop telling me he speaks his mind. What does that got to do with reality? Speaking your mind, if your mind is filled with crap, it's not good for us. If your mind is a rubbish mind, don't speak it. Especially if you're in the office that's affecting all our lives. I don't know if I know I'm making sense on that one. Don't speak your mind if your mind is rubbish. Keep that joy to yourself. it's one of the things about the Trump presidency that upsets me. Racism, discrimination has always been around in this country, for instance. But here's the issue. People have had to keep some of their racism to themselves in the past. People have had to swallow the N-word and say to you in their minds. But, you know, in the past, people couldn't just call you names. But all of a sudden now with Trump, it's like they're free. They could call you N-word. They could say, go back to your country. It's like, when did we get here? When did we get here that, you know, you could just call me the N-word? When did we get here that people could put up signs and say, you know, F the niggas? Excuse me. I normally wouldn't even say, but that's what I'm seeing. I saw a sign to fight against the protesters. Now I wish I had a delay a dump so I could dump that. Hey, bros, being goose. Alpha, talk to me, Brad Gbenga. Chime in on this issue, man. Brad Gbenga. Sister says, Funke, talk to me about this. My sister Elizabeth, talk to me about this. This is what I'm trying to say. Before Trump, people used to hide their racism. They would look at you a certain way, but they couldn't say anything. You would speak Spanish and they couldn't like say it. Oh, they would hate the fact that you're speaking Spanish in public, but they couldn't talk about that. Now we're seeing all the videos. They don't even care that they're being recorded. They're like, go back to your country, speak English. And I don't know if y'all saw that video of the lady that got slapped, trying to clown on this young lady who's a Native American. My goodness, imagine a white woman telling a Native American woman to go to her. What are you? This is upside down world. That's why she slapped her when she pushed her. No, the lady put her hand on the Native American lady, and then she retorted with a slap because Native Americans don't play. To my Yoruba folks, oh sound there, oh bite here. Oh my goodness. I don't know. Shout out to all the Nigerian mothers. Leadership is yeah. The Kente is the Democratic Party, and their photo up with the Kente. That guy is asking, you know. But I was digressing because I started this conversation because of something that happened on my page. Where I was talking to a brother about Trump, you know, and normally when that happens, you have a statement that someone says, "Why do you just hate this man? Why do you just like to condemn this man?" I was trying to explain to them, it's not about hating him. It's about understanding his role in the lives of everybody in this country and all over the world. You know what I mean? Sister Stacy, you said, thanks for distilling this issue down to its simplest forms. When it comes to voting political lines, it's more dicey because it's multifaceted. My sister, it's all about priorities. It's all about prioritization. It's all about prioritization. What's most important to you? You can't have politicians that represent everything you believe. That's not a thing. You don't represent everything you believe all the time. Sometimes you change what you believed yesterday. So it's unfair to ask anyone else to have that kind of consistency before you vote for them. Not to mention you only have a couple of choices to vote for. You got to make a decision. You got to prioritize. What's more important to you and who's more likely to represent that? Talking about distilling these things down, I think that's what it is. That's what it is. If a person's character outweighs their value to you on policy issues, you value character. So therefore, you can't vote for that person. I understand that. But if you're also considering, for instance, right now, you have Trump or Biden, you have to do the math and say, one of them is going to be president as it stands right now. But let me put the caveat in like they always do. It looks like one of them is going to be the president. So here's the issue. You have to decide what's the priority for you. Is it more important that, you know, you have a president who, you know, who's strong in law enforcement for law and order? Or is it more important to you that you have a president who is more empathetic, who cares more about people? That's your choice. You have to distill it down anyway, because it's all going to boil down to a choice, a simple choice. You're going to check off a box. You're going to shading a bubble. And that's a choice. So you have to make that choice, but you have to understand what you're choosing. You know? Yeah. So my people, I've been talking about that a little bit. Let me put in, now the issue with the Kente cloth, with the Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, the going on the knee in respect for George Floyd and taking the knee. I posted something about that I didn't think it was smart. I didn't think it was smart. I didn't think it was a wise choice. I didn't think it was a wise choice. you know, it's not a question of whether or not it's good or bad. Solidarity is always good. I'm the one who I posted. I appreciate every ally in the fight. In this fight for equality, every ally is welcome if they're a true ally, you know. But we have to check each other on our methods, on what we're doing. If I'm doing something, it's like the protests and the riots. The protesters are trying to get a point across. The rioters are also trying to get a point across, but in a different way. When the riots begin to affect the effectiveness of the protests, you're counterproductive, and therefore, in that place, if we're supposed to be allies, more or less, because we're kind of pushing towards the same direction. But I get to turn around as a protester to the rioter and say, "Bros, can you calm down with the burning of the buildings and the throwing of the bottle, so that we can hear the speech and we can give the speech." You know what I'm saying? We're allies in a way, but his method, is something that I get to speak to him about. We have to separate the rioter and the protester from the looter. The looter is not an ally of the protest. I've made that distinction. Somebody who is looting is a thief. Somebody who is looting is an opportunist. Somebody who is looting has promised themselves that the last riots they did not take advantage of and loot. This riot they will loot. They are a thief. I hope they get caught. I hope they go to jail or something, depending on what they stole. So please, anybody don't. I'm not here for anybody trying to make looters look like they are freedom fighters. What was that? I'm from Nigeria. We know a thief when we see one. At least we think we do. Then we put tire on their necks and we put kerosene and we set fire and we find out they are not the one that stole the thing. That's a different topic. What I'm saying is a looter is a looter. Don't connect him with the protest, please. That's one that will make me upset. People trying to make looters look like they are conscientious. No, bro. The guy wants a flat screen TV. He saw the riot. He put on his mask and he went there. Now, don't get me wrong. I know some of the looting was primed by some law enforcement guys and some Trump supporting guys. They went there and they started so that they can take pictures and say the protesters are violent. I know that. We've seen the video. But there are some every looter now. I'm talking to every looter, every race and every color. Because when it comes to looting, there's unity. When it comes to looting, people are united in purpose. People are running towards the same target and taking things because it is time to loot for them as looters. So there's unity in looting. But what I'm saying is, when we're allies, we still get to talk to each other about what we're doing and assess each other. If as an ally, I say something or I put a position that might affect what some other ally thinks, it might affect how effective we are, I get to say that. Because you're my ally doesn't mean that everything you do is good enough and I'll just take it. So when Nancy Pelosi and them and the congressmen, and people ask me, "Oh, why are you getting on Nancy?" Nancy is the leader. We shouldn't have to spell that out. We shouldn't have to. She's called Leader Pelosi. So when we talk about an action where the congressional Democrats come out and they kneel and they have the kente cloth and all that, we ask the leader, "Why did you do this?" And for me, again, please to clarify, I'm okay with the kente. I'm okay with solidarity. I'm just worried about timing. I'm worried about timing because if you do things that make it look like you're just being an opportunist, then at this point, we can't talk about the fact that you just finished doing legislation that's going to favor African Americans in this country. You just finished doing legislation that could really advance the cause, against police brutality. That's noteworthy. That's commendable. That's huge. That's action. Hey, Sister Tomi, thanks for coming. Yeah, thank you for the background. We're working on it based on your advice now. We're doing it. My people, please share this video. Let's get some more people in the conversation. So you guys talk to me. Back when I was telling you about the Kente, it's the story of the Democrats and the Kente kneeling down in solidarity. And like I said, I don't mind it. It's not an issue, except for the fact that the timing is off. You have to know, like, the nerves are raw. You have to, don't assume. That's my thing. Don't assume that people are going to be happy with you just kneeling down. Don't assume that people are just going to be happy with you wearing kente cloth. Not everybody agrees to what the kente cloth means. That's why you don't just embrace it. That's why you don't just do that. Sister Tomi, thank you. Starting a watch party. Thank you. So everybody, please share this video. Let's talk about it. So the kente cloth, guys, let me know what you think. I mean, that was my opinion. The Democrats kneeling down with the kente cloth. and all that. I don't know what you guys think about it, but that was my opinion. Like, it was unnecessary. Let me put it that way. It was unnecessary, and I don't know. It's you don't need it. And just like I suspected, what it does sometimes, it forces you to have to answer questions about why you did that. And so now people are, oh, why did you do that? Oh, that was pandering. That was this. I don't think it was. But my issue is, you give room for that. You give rise for that conversation. You give rise for that conversation, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. Don't do stupid stuff. That's like Joe Biden the other day talking about, if you don't vote for me, then you can't be, you're not black. That's stupid stuff. Don't do it. Do I believe that for African Americans in this country, when it comes down to a choice between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, do I believe on policy that Joe Biden might be a better choice? I believe that. Do I believe that, for African Americans making a choice in this election, that, Joe Biden compared to Donald Trump, they should go with Joe? I believe that. But will I ever say, if you don't vote for Joe, you're not black? I would never say that. You see what I'm saying? In terms of, it's not so much the underlying issue. It's about the packaging and presentation. And so when Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats kneel down, when they kneel down with this, Kente cloth and all that, it's like, now we're talking people. I mean, I didn't want to talk about it, but as a strategist, I know. So okay, you guys says, I don't trust Joe Biden. I don't trust Trump. Or Trump, you say, sorry, Trump. But I agree with you that you have that feeling. But for someone like me, being in America, I have to make a choice. And I got to go with what I have. And I'll be honest with you. This was the same conversation we had in 2016 between Hillary and Trump. And we had the same issue. I don't trust Hillary. I don't like Hillary. Hillary kills babies. Hillary is a witch. I saw Hillary in my window last night. She was looking at me with devil eyes. These are the things I was hearing about Hillary. And then my question kept being, so what is it about Trump that makes him a better choice? And there were people telling me, well, at least anything is better than, no, here we are. And I will say it again, Trump is not responsible for COVID, but he's responsible for protecting Americans during COVID. That's the job. And so if you have 113,000 Americans dead, it's part of the conversation of how has he been as president. That's his job. If you are one of those who believe that if not for Trump, 2 million would have been dead, congrats to you. That's what you believe. But for me, I am convinced that if he had acted earlier, if he had listened better, if he had been more attuned to what's going on, we would have been in a better shape. Because there was a time where there was a window. There was a window where COVID was coming into America. And that was a time to decide what to do. Donald Trump and his team spent that time telling Americans they had it under control, instead of actually working to have it under control. So, ladies and gentlemen, as for me, that's a game changer when we're discussing the COVID response in America. I don't think this number of Americans had to die. I do not believe that we did not need to lose this number of people. I am sure that if Mike Pence was president, we would probably not lose this many people. Because when he made Mike Pence the head of the task force at the beginning, I didn't like it because Mike Pence is not the best guy for the job. But Mike Pence did something. He listened to experts and he gave us updates based on but then Trump realized he was losing the spotlight and he came back on. And then we started talking about testing not being important. You see what I'm saying? Like, again, to my earlier point, I don't have to hate Donald Trump to know that he's wrong for the job. This is math. Bro, you're bad at this job. You're bad at this job. One of the things about being president is pandemics might come. Famine might come. You as a leader, you should know that. But Trump is not the kind of leader who even thinks about stuff like that. That's why he was tying his entire presidency to the stock market and the employment numbers like an idiot. Like I said at the beginning, the word idiot has an actual meaning, and it applies to Donald Trump. So I'm not using just to insult him. I'm describing his behavior and his personality. Yeah, let me go on. Alavi, welcome, my brother. He said, whilst I do agree that Joe is a better choice, but let's look at Joe's record till date. Joe cannot be trusted. Joe has been there for how long? What policies does he propose to better the Black lives? If he wants people's vote, he should present his platform. It should be more than just defeating Trump. Voting is the only power people. I am in total agreement, Alabi. I would not disagree with you on that. You know, his feet has to be held to the fire. I agree with you. You're right now talking like my brother Tunde Ajishafe. I'm in agreement. My only issue with that is I feel like Trump's incompetence and the danger that Donald Trump poses to this nation, the way I see it, I think is where we differ. This is an emergency. This is an emergency. America requires urgent care. And so when we're talking about Joe's record and all that, those are not things that we should normally aspire to. That's the conversation we have in any election. But I'm sorry, in this election, there are bigger things. There are bigger things. And I've been saying that. Unfortunately, we are seeing it in pictures and videos. The nation is burning. It's burning. Are we talking about Joe? I told you, if my 1988 Toyota Camry is running against Donald Trump, based on what's going on, I will vote for the Camry. That's the issue. I don't know the Camry's policy. I don't know what my Toyota Camry, that was my first car in Buffalo before it caught fire on the highway. It didn't catch fire. It just had a little flame inside the place where you open the thing in the front boot. In the front boot of my Toyota Camry one day, there was a small flame. That's when no, that's not the Toyota, that's the other lemon I bought. That's the Jeep Grand Cherokee. Yes, that's when I finished law school. That one, because I wanted to be in a Jeep. I wanted to jump out of cars. So I bought a Jeep, but I did not check whether the Jeep is good or not. But when I entered the Jeep, I said, I have arrived. But the Jeep was not good. And so when the Jeep was finally ready to tell me that it's going home, it just started smoking one day. I just saw smoke on the highway. I didn't even know it was me. I just saw the smoke behind me and I said, somebody's car is smoking, hey, yeah. Somebody's car is burning, hey, yeah. You know, when the wind is blowing the smoke in your car, you don't see that it's your car. So by the time I realized it was my car, I saw other cars slowing down for me. I said, why are they slowing down? Am I the one that is on fire? So when I pulled over, the smoke caught up with my car, like you are the one we are talking to. Guy, I opened the trunk like this, the front boot. When I opened the front boot of my car, I saw a flame like this. As I know Jesus is Lord, because I don't know what would have happened to me if I kept driving with that flame. You know what I'm saying? So that was the lemon that I bought. If that car ran against Donald Trump, I would vote for that car, even though it was on fire. Because I don't think you are getting it. Maybe because some of us, we've been in law enforcement, I've been a DA, I'm an attorney. The damage that is being done to the foundations of this nation, in terms of the DOJ, in terms of the legal system, in terms of the judiciary, no one has a clue of how long this damage will affect this country. So when we're having this conversation about voting for Joe, my perspective is different. We are in an emergency. The plane is going down. The guy who is in the cockpit right now has no idea what he's doing. And then I have another guy who maybe also has maybe not as much of an idea, but at least I've seen some things to suggest that he knows one or two things. I want to switch them up to see if we have a shot. I want to switch them up. And that's the difference. So when we're talking about this, man, Joe is not the candidate of choice, but Joe is the one running against the worst president America has ever seen. So you gotta switch them out. You gotta switch them up. You gotta change leadership. America is on fire, bro. America is on fire, and that's the fire we can see. I don't know how many of you saw that news today. Steve Mnuchin talking about he's not going to disclose the information, the names of the companies that got the bailout. That level of corruption is something that America used to pretend to be disgusted by. I say pretend because I know there's corruption here, but this level, sitting in front of Congress and saying, nah, I'm not going to tell you who I gave the money to. Me and my boys having a good time, man. My boys was rich right now, slut. I'm not telling y'all who it is, though. That's so blatant. It's like you hear that and you look around like, is this America? So I mean, the country's on fire, y'all. It's on fire. Literal fire, figurative fire, spiritual fire. And so when we're having this conversation of but Joe Biden, the truth is, I'm not interested right now. I want to put the fire out first. Other people ran in the primaries. Some of them did not win their polling booths. We had African Americans running in the race. They couldn't win the kind of support they needed to even make it to like the next round. They gave it their shot. So for those of us who are African Americans, many of us, when Kamala Harris was running, I was sitting here as a prosecutor, listening to people say, "Oh, but the one time when she was prosecutor, in Cali, she put some people in jail, and she was tough on this." And she said that was her job. Prosecutor, she gonna put some people in jail, but she got blamed for that. She got castigated for that. Yes, do we have a disparity in our prison system, law enforcement system, justice system, unfair, not just unfair, very discriminatory against minorities and black people and all other minorities of every color. That's the truth. But you don't take that and then disparage someone from being a prosecutor just because, yes, they made some decisions where that's the job, and you don't have to be perfect to be a prosecutor. Although that means that someone's life was affected, it's the nature of the job and the imperfection of the system. It's not always a question of her being a horrible person, but that's how she was dealt with. So so forgive me if I'm not on this bandwagon per se. Y'all rejected all the others. I'm sorry. Michael, what's going on? Everybody rejected the other candidates. And for my Bernie Sanders folks, I told you this. Bernie Sanders being right, being a good candidate, being the best candidate, can only be proven by Bernie Sanders winning the hearts and minds of primary voters, even in spite of media bias. That's the thing. You can't use that excuse for Bernie. People want to talk about how, Joe Biden, got help from the media. Joe Biden got no help from the media when he was going down. He was dead in the water until South Carolina. We know this. They were projecting him they said he wouldn't even win the votes in his own house. South Carolina brought him up. We had a whole bunch of candidates, y'all. We had a whole team. We had 2 football teams of candidates for primaries for Democrats. And one by one, everybody rejected them. And as soon as they felt the rejection, they left. And now we're left with this dude. So I'm sorry if I don't know how much time I have left for any conversations about whether or not it should be Joe. We don't have time for that. November is here. We're supposed to be sending out early voting cards right now. So I'm done with that. What I'm telling you is that the country's on fire. We need to put out the fire. We just need to do it. And we go closer to the fire. We go closer to the fire. We go closer to the fire. And we see Donald Trump with the matches. No, let me reverse that. I'm sorry, my bad. Rewind. We're getting close to the fire. We're getting closer to the fire. Oh my goodness, it's a fire. The country's on fire. Who's setting the fire? We look closer at the fire. We don't know who's setting it. But then we look closer. We see somebody with gasoline on the fire going. That's Donald Trump. He's adding gasoline to the fire. So I'm not interested in a debate about whether or not I should vote for Joe Biden. Donald Trump is pouring gasoline on the fire. That's all I need to know right now. There's so many things that we're trying to get to today. My people falling. I don't know what's going on. I'm having to look on Facebook to see my comments. Only some of my comments are making it to the live, but that's fine. That's fine. So talk to me, my people. So like I said, one of the things I wanted to talk today about, like you can see on the topics, changes in the air. The protests and all the movement, everything we're doing with the movement is having an impact. It's having an impact, and I don't know in my lifetime if I ever thought some of these things would be possible. We're seeing progress. We're seeing legislation. We're seeing all kinds of things happening. We're seeing police departments making concessions. We're seeing in New York, they're walking away from the union agreements to give them more room to hold police accountable. Cuomo today, you know, basically destroyed, you know, some of the underpinnings of the policies that made it easy for police officers to get away with police brutality, and talk about, you know, the discipline of police officers and their records are now going to be available. So like Officer Chauvin, who's been reported for misconduct and has complaints against him over and over again, we need to know those records. If police officers know that their records are going to be made public, maybe, just maybe, they might calm down with the killing of the black people. That's it. Maybe they calm down, because you're not protected. If you rough up a person for no reason, for that matter, it's not as if they always say, yo, he's trying to escape. The people are not escaping. If you rough them up and you know that they're going to make a complaint, and that complaint is going to be public, maybe the police officer would think twice about roughing up people, pushing them up against cars, pushing them up against walls. If you know your record is going to be made public as a police officer, and all the complaints against you are going to be available for people, maybe you change how you handle suspects. Don't get me wrong. I understand it's a tough job. It's a tough job. We say that all the time. I'm not a police officer, and I respect them, because I can't do what they do. I can't leave my house every day knowing that my life is in danger. I'm putting myself in danger for people. I can't do that. I can't do that job. I've been up and close to police officers, you know, in my career. It's a tough job. But the challenge is, if you are wearing that badge, you need to be able to do your job and be a decent human being at the same time. And there are officers who do that. Unfortunately, right now, the ones who are just horrible are the ones we're seeing. These protests, they're not good for the argument that, oh, the bad cops are a few bad apples. These protests we're watching, that's not a good argument right now. There's too many police officers, law enforcement, who are willing and happy to crush people. So it's hard to say, oh, it's just a few people. No, man, there's a whole bunch of them, and they're loving it. I see some police officers, like, it's like they're salivating over the chance to run over people. How will a police officer drive an SUV and run people down? Bro, I'm telling you, man. So for me, it's hard to say there are good cops or bad cops when the bad cops are the only ones we're seeing right now. Even an officer who took a knee in solidarity had to go back and apologize for taking a knee. Now, I suspect that that's because when he got back to the locker room, the other guys were like, are you mad? Why are you taking a knee? You're a traitor. You're a traitor. They probably said that to him. So he had to put out a statement saying, no, I take it back. I don't support the protest. You have to take that back. You have to walk that back. So, which makes me think there are more bad cops than good cops in that locker room. Because if he felt like he had to change his entire mindset about the protest to please his brother officers, there are a lot of bad cops in there who were telling him that by taking a knee for the protesters, that he was a traitor. That's exactly what happened. I don't care what nobody said. That officer that retracted his support for Black Lives Matter, he retracted that because he got it from the others. That's the only reason you would do that, because that's a horrible. He looks stupid. That man looks stupid. You took a knee, pictures were taken, you look like you were in solidarity, and then you come back and say, "Oh, that was a mistake." Are you high? You know, were you on drugs when you did that? You look sober. It looked like you wanted to do that. So the only thing I know that could have changed is that you got ragged on in the locker room, and you changed your mind. You know what I mean? So it's not. Don't tell me about the good cops when all I see is the bad ones. The good cops must be on vacation. They must be on vacation, all the good cops, because the bad ones are everywhere. Have you seen all these videos of police officers? They're driving through people. He could have reversed. In that video where the police officer with the SUV ran through the crowd, he could have reversed. He could have gotten out of there without having to hit a single person. So if you have so many bad cops, I don't know how you keep saying that, oh, there is only good cops and bad cops. The bad cops are outweighing the good cops. Yes, my people, what's going on? Ooh, it's been a day to rant a little bit. I know that. But I want to tell you something, man. These issues are things that I know that many of us have ideas with. Now, to all my people who are you are mourning the situation with Hush Puppy, my condolences. I was thinking that I want to be rich like Hush Puppy, but now I've changed my mind. I'm okay with what I have. It's okay. I don't want to touch puppy money again. I'm good. In fact, anything that is Gucci, don't bring it near me. I don't want Gucci stuff anymore. I'm okay. Hey, they have hushed the puppy or hush puppy. Oh, it's not easy. You know what I mean? Yeah, people giving us, they are giving us bad news, but we ourselves are giving ourselves bad news because we are the ones that are hailing these people. I'll be honest, I don't know enough about Hush Puppy to talk about Hush Puppy. It was just interesting to me that what I know about him is that he's a Gucci guy. I didn't know that he was using 419 money to buy the Gucci. Oh my, this life. When you're paying to be like somebody, tell God exactly what you want. Don't use somebody because you say you want to be like Hush Puppy. Na jail with that. Yeah. So I was talking about that, but I wanted to get you guys. Some of you guys are out here. Please let me know you are here. Let me know you are here. My people did not. My people are not giving me as many comments today. Alabi, what's going on, man? Talk to me. What do you guys think about the Kente? What do you guys think about defunding police? That's another thing that I wanted to just touch on a little bit. Defunding the police. That bothers me. I don't know. That bothers me. I don't know what you guys. I don't know what you guys think about that. That bothers me. Defunding the police is something that a lot of people have been talking about, and I don't agree with that. I don't agree with defunding the police as a slogan because I feel like when we do that, we're telling people that we're not even ready to have a conversation about reform anymore. And if you do that, you do find out that you are also disparaging. Even if there are 5 good cops, you've scrapped the whole system. What are you going to replace it with? That's my issue. Defunding the police, what will be the effect? If you cut the funding for any organization, are you also going to dictate how that organization reallocates the remaining funds? Because if you defund the police and you force the police departments to make decisions based on their resources in that way, instead of advocating for them to reallocate the resources, instead of telling the police department, spend more on X, spend more on Y, if you just take away the money and you tell them, manage the funds you have, that doesn't solve the problem of what they're going to do with those funds. So now, if they cut police pay, if they do all that stuff, let me tell you something. I don't want America to turn to Nigeria in that way. One of the biggest problems I believe that is plaguing Nigeria is that our police force is underfunded anyway. They have their problems with corruption and all that, but the police force in Nigeria is grossly underfunded. And I think we know this. I've always thought that one of the things we can do to Nigeria's police force is to have a period where we really evaluate their compensation. BC, what's up? Good to see you, girl. I was thinking you were not coming. BC, come on, chime in. Let me know what you feel about any of the things I put on my flyer. Kente cloth, people that say COVID is dead, but they still want to wear masks and they still want to talk about the numbers rising and pretend they don't see it. If you want to talk about defunding, I'm talking about defunding the police right now. Like in Nigeria, the police is well defunded, and we have seen the results. So be careful be careful what you're asking for. If you defund the police and you take away some benefits from the police department, don't be surprised if you think police are corrupt, if you think some police officers, some police units are corrupt right now, don't be surprised when the corruption hits a level 10. You defund the police and what I'm saying is it's better to reallocate the police funds. It's better to have more control over how they spend their money. For instance, you can reduce the amount spent to get tanks and grenades, or the militarization of police. You can look into that and talk about how we should reduce that. Yeah, BC people have somehow decided that COVID is over, but President Lysol wants you to sign waiver to not sue him if you attend this rally. That's what I put up, and that's what led to my conversation. You missed it. I know you watch it again. I started this episode by explaining to people that I do not hate President Trump. I do not hate him because I don't have to hate him to know that he's incompetent. I don't have to hate him to say that he's not fit for the job. Those are two different things. I don't have to hate him for that. If you see me criticize him, it's not out of hate. It's because of what I'm looking at. Because when a man tells me when a man says Lysol or Clorox is something that we should consider in our search for a solution to COVID in our system, that's an idiot. Don't hate him. I just know he's an idiot. That's what I'm trying to make that distinction. So when you see a comment, don't think it's just out of hate. Don't think it's just out of hate. It's like, look at the comment that's been discussed. Look at look at the actions. That's why I put up my post. Donald Trump is going around making it look like COVID is over. He's making fun of reporters for wearing masks. He's making fun of Joe Biden for wearing a mask. Now it's time for him to do a rally. He has a little quote on his rally paper talking about, oh, you have to sign a waiver that you will not sue Donald Trump's re-election campaign if you catch COVID when you come to his rally. Oh, so it's possible to catch COVID at his rally. So he knows that that's possible. If COVID was gone, would that be a possibility? And so when I point out his hypocrisy, it doesn't have anything to do with what I feel about him. It's about the hypocrisy I'm pointing out. The question is COVID gone or is it not? The question is it safe to have rallies right now or is it not? If the President of the United States, who has all the information about COVID and where it is right now, if he's putting up a rally in Tulsa, for crying out loud, if he's doing a rally, then he's saying that he thinks it's safe enough to do a rally. That's the responsible thing. You shouldn't have a rally if it's not safe yet to have rallies. If you're having a rally and then you tell people, by the way, if you get COVID, don't blame me, you're acknowledging that there's a possibility that they will get COVID at your rally. So why not just postpone the rally if you care about people? And when I point that out, you say, I hate him. I don't replace his name with anybody else. If anybody did that anywhere, you don't have to hate somebody to say, bros, that's hypocrisy. You're trying to protect yourself from what would happen if COVID, suddenly took over your rally. You're trying to protect yourself. That means it's possible. You're preparing for the likelihood of a COVID infection at your rally. It's irresponsible for you to keep that rally on the schedule, because that means you know the danger you're putting people in, and then you turn around and tell them, oh, they should be responsible for themselves. You are the president. You have some responsibility for how you lead people. You are in an office that has power, that has influence. You are in a position that normally is a position of trust. So when you say things like, when I'm going to have a rally, you're suggesting to people that it's safe to go out in crowds. And you're the same person telling the same people that you don't believe in masks. You're the same person telling us that, testing is overrated. But you're going to have a little disclaimer on your page saying, oh, if you catch COVID at my rally, please don't blame me. It's irresponsible. And that's why I don't have to hate Donald Trump to say that is conniving. That's deceitful. To be on the airwaves telling people that, oh, we are safe. And then to go and put a disclaimer in the forms of people coming to your rally that, by the way, you might catch COVID. If you do, please don't say it's my fault. That's disingenuous. And again, it goes back, you don't care about people. You don't care about people. You're more interested in your re-election. You want to get your rallies back because that's how you get your fix. Donald Trump is an addict of rallies. That's why he's having that. He needs his rally as soon as possible because he's dying for lack of rally. He was going to use the coronavirus task force briefing as his next thing to rallies, but he messed that up too when he told us to drink Lysol. So, but he wants the real thing now, but he doesn't care who he hurts in the process. Can you imagine? One of my brothers was arguing with me, and that's what brought this up. He was saying, "Oh, it's just a normal thing. People have to be responsible for their own decisions. He's not asking anybody to come to the rally if you're afraid of COVID." That's a straw man argument. That's a straw man argument. Responsible companies, responsible individuals, responsible people are canceling events. At the beginning of this thing, they were shutting events. That's a responsible thing to do. They could have and the NBA could have said, oh, if it's your choice if you want to come to an NBA game during coronavirus. They didn't do that. They told people, we're closed. We don't want to give you the option of getting sick. That's what responsible corporations, that's what responsible organizations do. And so when Trump goes ahead and he's going ahead with his rally, but he also wants to protect himself against lawsuits in case people get sick at his rally, that is irresponsible. But we're not surprised. He's one of the most selfish people we've ever known. He's all about himself. He wants his rally fix. He doesn't care who gets hurt. And he wants to make sure that he doesn't lose any money if people get sick at his rally. So you tell me how that's not irresponsible. That's the whole thing about Donald Trump. It's the irresponsibility and the selfishness is not something you can excuse. You can't excuse it away. Yeah, so my people were here, man. Let me see who else is here. Hey, let me see. I see. Hey, I see my brother joining. I see my professor joining now. Hey, big things popping. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know what I mean? Like, so what we're talking about today, I was going back about the defunding police. The police defunding thing, let me know what you guys think about that. Let me know what you guys think about that. I mean, just, I don't agree with defunding the police. I don't agree with defunding police. I feel like there are other things that we can do with the reform and that we can get support for, because that's the other thing. We need our allies. We need to build alliances for the fight. That's partly why this is working. It's allies. It's protesters. It's congressmen and women. It's people who are in support of the movement, people who are in support of the African American community, who are not African Americans themselves, but who have African American friends, African American family members. These are the people right now that are joining the fight. And so for me, it's like, all right, I want to be able to consider them when we're having the conversations about what to do. So that's why I'm not down with defunding the police, because the consequences of that, no one has explained to me well enough. Nigeria is my next example that I know of a police department that has been completely defunded. That one is defunded because of embezzlement, but still, it's a defunded police department, and I don't like what I see there. So please don't. Hey, Sister Funke, I didn't even see this your comment. Say Trump is an 8-year-old in a grown man's body, which might be an insult to 8-year-olds. Yeah. Okay, BC, yeah. So we need to reallocate some of the funds, though. The police came out in full riot gear, ready to take down protesters. Meanwhile, our healthcare workers are wearing trash bags due to lack of PPE. BC, that's my exact position. Reallocating, reforming, retraining, all those words for me make sense for the police force, for the police department. All those words make sense. Reorganizing the union contracts, which allows them to get away with so much. Those things make sense. But the other thing about when I say some things, people think that, I don't expect you to be against X, Y, like the Kente cloth that the Democrats wore, Pelosi and them. Ordinarily, that's not a bad idea. Showing solidarity, taking something of something that's revered in African culture, at least in some parts of African culture, and connecting that with the moment. That's brilliant. But you got to know the moment you're in. This is not a moment where you can get away with something that looks like a gimmick, like a photo op. Especially when Trump has just finished raising the Bible in front of a church, and everybody said that's pandering. It's pandering to the evangelicals. It's not your turn to now come out and use a Kente cloth. Of course, you're going to get accused of pandering to blacks, not just pandering, but just in a gimmicky way. So what I'm saying is, don't take away from the conversation that you want to have. The Democrats have just finished passing legislation that is just one of the most progressive things we've seen in a long time. So on policing, great stuff. That's what I want to talk about. Nancy Pelosi could have held up the folder with the legislation, and all of them could have raised their hands up in the air like this, and it would be better. Kneeling down with a Kente cloth takes away the attention from that legislation, and now we're looking at your cloth and we're saying, what do they have to do that? You don't want that kind of confusion. So they take the military weapons away from the police and fund hospitals and schools instead. So I believe that it's not an either or. It's not an either or. I don't believe in either or. You can take away the military weapons from the police and reallocate it within the police department, because there are aspects of the police department that deal with some of the things we're talking about. We talked about the other day, the CRB, the Civilian Review Board. Give them more power. Hire more people for that board. Internal affairs, at police departments. Give them more power. Give them more funding. Let them be able to weed out cops that are erring. Those are practical things that we could do. Funding hospitals and schools is extremely important, but I believe that the funds for hospitals and schools are out there. I don't think you have to take it out of the police force to do that. That's my thing. If the politicians are honest, there's money that they could reallocate from everything else in the world. With the police department, you have to make a distinction and say, we do need law enforcement. We need law enforcement. And I said it the other day. Don't get it twisted. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody. If you feel I'm wrong, don't get it twisted. If you go out there and you disband the police, like in Minnesota, CCRB, yes, civilian complaint review board. Thank you, BC. Thank you. That's what it is, CCRB. If you go out there and you want to disband the police or dismiss the police or eliminate the police, like in Minnesota, I don't know how they're gonna do it, but someone needs to talk me off the ledge of what happens the day after you do that. We need to take police out of schools. We need more educators, counselors, social workers. Enough with that school to prison pipeline. I agree with you exactly on that. We need to end that. We need to end the school to prison pipeline. We need to find a different way to address issues in school. But again, disbanding the police, ending the police, there are consequences of that that I don't think we want. Trust me. There are people in this country who have been cleaning their guns, waiting to take over as soon as there's no police officers in the neighborhood. If you disband your police force, first of all, what are you going to reconstitute in its place? And how are you going to make sure that that force doesn't have the same problem? You're still going to have to recruit police officers. You might still end up with police officers who are going to develop a brotherhood. The brotherhood is you're going to have another blue wall. Police funding should be allocated to malpractice insurance. I mean, within the police force, yes. Again, I want to keep the money in the police force. I just want to use it for different things. And I feel like that works. Again, if you talk about defunding police, everyone out there who's against your cause can easily take that and say you want to disband the police. And trust me, we don't have enough bandwidth to argue with people and say, no, when I say defund the police, I don't mean get rid of them. If that's your explanation, you're losing already. You're already losing the argument. If you're explaining why defund the police that you're saying is not this, you're losing. Because the people you're talking to don't want to make that distinction. So there's no difference between the person saying defund the police and the person saying get rid of the police. You and I know there's a difference. You and I know that there's nuance in there, but we're in a soundbite world. We're in a soundbite world. One of the things that we know, that one of the progressive things that we're seeing right now, the Black Lives Matter movement is basically enjoying the fact that that slogan, Black Lives Matter, is strong. It's a soundbite that's strong, and it engenders strong feelings. Hate it, love it, it's strong. You can't deny it. You have to address it. The same way defund the police, disband the police is also strong, but I don't think it's strong in the way that we want. Trust me on this. There are people who would like to replace the police. George Zimmerman. There are people who would like to replace the police. Stand your ground, people. I don't want to empower those guys more than they're already empowered under Trump. Reallocation, not defunding. If you defund the police, then who suffers most? Reallocate to training programs. Alabi, that's my point. Let's stress reallocation. Let's stress, reforms. Let's stress. Hey, sister, now you don't tell. I was waiting for you all day, man. What's going on, sis? Good to see you. So yeah, we're talking about defunding the police, and I'm saying I'm not for that. I'm not for any soundbite that makes it look like you want to get rid of the police department. I'm not for that, because something's going to come up in its place. Hear me now. I know it's bad enough that, one thinks about getting rid of the whole force. I know that. But there's a question that comes after that. The next day after you defund or dismantle or dismiss or disband the police, which force takes their place? Disband is totally wrong word. Reform is what is urgent. I agree, Alabi. That's my point. And I know this is something where I disagree with a lot of my friends and some of our people who are in in the fight. Many of us disagree, and it's okay to disagree on tactics. It's okay to disagree on strategy or on tactics, as long as we agree on the mission. We'll always find a way to meet in the middle. What I'm talking about is messaging. Messaging is important. Messaging is important. I mean, it's the same thing that connects the Kente cloth with the Democrats. The same thing that connects how people are talking about COVID right now. Messaging is important. So now, if you message wrongly, you lose some of the momentum you have. You know, it's like you don't lose your momentum because of your message. Black Lives Matter. Police brutality must end. You know, justice for George Floyd and everybody who has been unjustly executed. You know, punishment for bad actors. Let's get access to records of police officers who have complaints against them. Let's make it public. Maybe that will cause them to rethink before they rough up somebody for no cause, even for a cause. If you know you're going to have a complaint against you, and if you know the complaint is going to be public, those are some of the policies I'm talking about. All right. Let's talk about the fact that the disciplinary situation for cops should be independently monitored. Let there be a different unit tasked with disciplining cops. Don't let it be their same brothers or the same chief of police. You know what I mean? There are things that we can talk. Reasonable people can agree on some of these points. Sister Bokun, you said, yeah, defunding doesn't remove them, just reallocates funds. Well, even I'll be honest with you, I think that we can reallocate the funds if we are allowed to kind of determine how it's reallocated. And that's the thing. Because you're right. If the reallocation is left up to them, they just reallocate it and end up in the same place. But we can at least have that conversation if we reallocate. Defunding means, not giving them more money, or maybe in some cases, like I've heard, take money from them. And my problem is, I don't want to turn them into Nigeria's police force, where you are not really going to force police officers to try to work to really go into crime to make ends meet. That's not. I don't think that makes it better. I think we can think our way out of this without completely eradicating the police force. Because once again, if you disband the police, you defund them to a point. If you defund them to a point where they are no longer able to do their jobs, or they're no longer useful, I understand that right now, in many cases in our communities, because of a lot of police officers, police sometimes feel like a menace to us rather than a help. I get that, but I think we should always game the whole thing out. If you're talking about defunding the police, getting rid of them, reducing them, and all that, ask yourself what comes in to replace everything you take away. Especially think about stand your ground communities. If I'm in a stand your ground neighborhood, if I hear that the police has been defunded, reduced, all that, I'm just buying more guns. Because now what you're telling me is that it's time for the militia to take over. The neighborhood watch just got promoted. I'm not ready for that, bro. I'm not ready for that. BC says police settlement should come from police pension funds, not from taxpayer dollars. Agreed. That's what I'm talking about. When police settlements come from taxpayer funds, there's no consequence for the police departments. If they feel the pain, that's what we're trying to see what we can do to incentivize better behavior. That's where we're going. So it's not a blanket, statement of complete disgust, and let's just destroy this entire thing. I know about the history of the police in America. I know about its origins, but we can also agree that, we have there are people in these forces who want to reform it. They are there. My career has led me to meet some of these people. There are people in there. The reason why we have some DAs who are prosecuting, in good faith, is because you have people in these departments, law enforcement, who care. So I'm not trying to sweep them out too. That's my thing. Especially if sweeping everybody out is going to leave a vacuum. I know who's coming into that vacuum, y'all. I know who's coming to that vacuum. It's what's his name in them. He's been trying to shoot somebody for years. But there's a police force, so he's like, I'm going to calm down. You get rid of the police in if you defund the police in some communities, they're gone. The police department will just diminish. And I promise you, what's going to take its place is something you're not going to like. Yeah, Lavi said, yeah, they want police gone. How many minorities get speaking of automatic weapons? I laugh in Chinese. Lavi, I was saying that to my brother who was saying, we should all get armed too. If all of us buy guns, we are still not as many. It's math. It's a mathematical problem. And some of us here, our fingers, our hands are designed for pounded yam, like this. No, people can't see my camera. Pounded yam. You understand what I'm saying? You scoop the corner of pounded yam on the plate like this, and then you roll it like this. Then you press it in the middle, put it inside the egusi soup, and you lift it up with the egusi before you drop it. You understand what I'm saying? My fingers are good for. I'm experienced with that. Gone. I don't know. And I'm not sure I want to know. I pray that a situation will not enter the country where we'll be forced to carry guns to defend our families. I would have to. I'd rather not. I'd rather not. So I'm talking about a situation where let's fix what needs to be fixed and not throw it all out, because nobody's been able to explain to me what comes the day after. That's my point. If you can't tell me what's going to happen the day after, like Minnesota's talking about disbanding the police. I know the legislation is working on something where they're going to have an alternate force. Alternate force. Who's going to be in that force? Are they trained already? Who's going to train them? I'm sure you're not going to be asking the police officers to train their replacements. I mean, there's a lot to think about. And it might end up being counterproductive. Because think about it also. You disband the police force, you fire all those people. Good cop, bad cop, cop that doesn't care. The lady that sits at the desk of the police, you just fire everybody because you're disbanding the police force. What are they supposed to do? How are they supposed to live? And what is their reaction to whatever new force you're bringing up? Now you got a whole bunch of people out there trained, probably got their own private guns. Alabimi and Pounded Jam is not my fault. It's the dreams I'm having. Pounded Jam dreams. You know? So talk to me about this defunding, man. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it. And for you guys coming in, you can talk to me about any of the other things we've talked about. You know, I believe that we're making progress with the fight for justice. And I feel that we should continue pushing ahead, and we should check ourselves and try not to introduce too many things that can divide the alliance, if you know what I mean. Our goals are like we want reform in the police department. We want more racial equality in the nation as a whole. We want civil rights and the human rights of African Americans to be entrenched in a way that it will be respected by law enforcement and by the judicial system in general. We want reform in the prison system. We want our politicians to be more accountable for how they treat African Americans and how they treat African American communities. These are goals, these are aims that, and some of them are more concrete than others. These are things we should all push for. You know, they're banning chokeholds. I think we are all just angry, and that's why the defunding. No, you're right. You're right. You're right, and I know that, and that's why I started by saying I get it. I get the sentiment for that. I get the sentiment for that. It's the same thing when people say, "Don't tell me about the good cops right now. Don't talk to me about the good cops right now. Just in this moment, just save it with the good cop situation, because all I see are the bad ones." I'm watching videos of protests and police officers are ramming people with their SUVs. Don't talk to me about good cops right now. Right? There's no legal way to actually fix the problem. That's the thing, but we have to try. We have to try. Like, okay, think about it right now, the legislation that they have, that they want Pelosi and them, that very, I mean, there's some things you not even know are inside that are allowed by law right now, by police policies. There's some things you don't even know that are permitted by the policies. For instance, the chokehold. Who knew? I mean, a lot of people don't know that chokeholds were not banned expressly, and it was part of the methods of subduing a suspect. It involved chokeholds. So now we're just finding out that they're making a law to ban chokeholds, and many police departments are embracing that. So legislation is the only real way to, because don't forget, if we say the problem is institutional racism, systemic racism, we're saying that the root of this problem is inside the structure, you know, of these departments. In other words, the way to get to the structure of things like that is to attack the legislation, the statutes that establish those organizations. You can make change if you uproot the statutes and you remove the ingredients that some of these guys rely on to perpetrate the police brutality, to perpetrate the discrimination. So that's why legislation is a good deal, because you can go in and take away the foundation and the basis. That's why New York is having a fight with the police union, because some of the union contracts are the things that have allowed police officers to hide their record. So you have an officer who's been brutalizing the whole neighborhood, and he has 20 complaints against him, but all of that is hidden. And so he can continue to be on the force. There's also legislation right now to address the idea that a police officer can be fired from one job in one location and then just go to another city or another state and get hired again in the police force over there, even though he's been let go or he left this police station because he was brutal, because he he violated a citizen. So laws are now coming in to say, no, if you've been fired for misconduct, for any of certain things, you can't be rehired in another police department again, ever. Those are things that you would think that were normal, but that's what legislation can do. So we got to start with that. And that's really what we can push for, because we can't change the minds of racists, at least not in any method that I know of, except when God touches their hearts. But they already believe they're Christians, So it says, can you retrain white people to be unafraid of black people? I don't think so, Sister Bukumba. I know some of them are not. I know some. Of course, we all know people of the Caucasian persuasion that are not down with the racism, because it's not something. They're people of fair minds in every race. There are white people who just normally react to inequality a certain way. There are white people who don't like other people to suffer. I believe that. I've met many. I know many. So for me, it's not so much of a stretch to say, no, there's a group of non-African Americans who understand the plight of African Americans and who are part of the fight to rectify it. So they exist. But there's also a category who are oblivious, who don't care. Like one of our sisters said at the beginning, it's hard to give up privilege when you have it. So if I was a white dude and I was enjoying some of the benefits of being white, even if I didn't know that I had those benefits, any conversation that involves me giving up those benefits might end up in a fight, because I don't want to give them up. I didn't even know I had them, but now that you show me that I have them, I love them. So it's a problem. It's not even just like, there's so many white people that they're just oblivious. It's not in their world. But then you have another category. Training needs to be longer. Now, BC said, let's have a talk regarding how Nigerian parents in diaspora should begin to engage our kids in conversations about racial inequalities and injustice, the Black Lives Matter movement, etc. Many of us are quick to dismiss the deeply rooted effects of systemic racism, quick to call folks lazy, not realizing that the decks have been stacked against blacks for over 400 years. Let's have this talk, I beg, and suggest resources for parents to, wow, BC, you're the best. You just gave me my topic for the next show. So we're going to do that, because that's something that's on my mind too. As a Nigerian immigrant raising kids in America, I am very cognizant that I'm raising these children in a society that they call their own. And as much as I try to tell them about my culture, and my wife and I show them parts of our Nigerian culture, I am aware that it would be unfair of me to expect these kids to jettison or forget about the country they're living in and only just embrace things from my culture. It's unfair, because I had them here. That was on me. If I didn't want my kids to be American or Americanized, I should have stayed my behind back in Lagos. I didn't do that. I prayed for a visa and fasted, and I got the visa, and I got money, and I ran here. So if I did that, I shouldn't be here talking about, oh, I wish my children were Nigerian. No, that's on you, but you made your decision. And whatever it is that chased you here, you're a hypocrite if you're going to get here and pretend like you don't like it here, and you're still not going home either. So we know where your heart is. Yo, we see. So the next time we're gonna go on that. We're gonna go on that and talk about that. That's that. I mean, it's the topic is online already about how African Americans and Africans, Africans who come in, who migrated here, as opposed to African Americans who are descendants of those that were brought here by force, and how we look at each other. It's people want to just. I fought against it in my own community. I don't entertain it. I don't like people disparaging African Americans, because I think it's a problem of ignorance. Ignorance in the most educational way. You don't know what these people have in their antecedents. You don't know the history of each individual African American family. You don't know the effect of what great grandpa, great grandma and them, what they went through, what their lives was like based on how they were dealt with. You don't know how that affected how they had their children, how they raised their children, how they had to manage what they did without, and how that leads up to, and then not just that, continuously the same system that enslaved, the ancestors, continue to discriminate against the descendants. And so if I'm coming in from Nigeria, I need to understand my situation is one of, I'm looking into something that has been going on for a while. I just came in on. I need to be humble. I need to be humble. I educate myself. I surround myself with African American brothers and sisters who can tell me what it's like. Not to mention, by nature, I hate to generalize anyway. I hate to generalize. I generalize if I have to make a strong point. But if I can avoid generalizing, you often find me making statements that are just for certain groups of some people, because human beings are not, there is no homogeneity beyond the individual. We in every family, we might agree on some things, but we're different people. But BC, you're getting me started on this. You're right. Ignorance, yeah, that I nailed it. This is not to be insulted. A lot of us really need to, education is necessary. The same way I came here and some people were asking me about Africa, if I had a pet lion, which I said I had a pet lion because that sounded cool. So you guys have like pets, like from like real animals for pets, you have like a lion. I said, yeah, man. I said, yeah. My lion's name is Kogogo. Kogogo is a big lion with big hair because my father is a chief where I come from. And his own cave is a special cave. All the caves are small, but the chief's cave, they make it and then they use a different kind of clay. The guy listened to me with rapt attention as I told him about me and my lion Kogogo playing in our village. Not knowing that I'm a Lagos boy. No, forget this thing. Forget this thing. You have 3 lions. You must be not only a chief, you are also an elder. They don't just give lions away in our community. The lion's name, BC, is Kokogo. Kokogo. Named after the sound I made the first time it roared at me. We're talking about ignorance. Somebody asking me if we wear shoes in Nigeria out of ignorance. I didn't fight him. I just explained to him that no, we didn't wear shoes. That the first time I saw a shoe was when a white man came to our compound. I've told that story before. That statement got me a pair of sneakers. So the guy felt so sorry for me. Like, oh, wow. So you just wearing shoes for the first time? Like, bro, one of my uncles who has traveled is the only one traveling in our village. He came back with shoes one time and he got me a pair. So I had the pair when I was coming over. The guy said, oh my goodness, man, I need to take you shoe shopping, man. You deserve to wear some good shoes. I'm like, my brother, if you do that, I really appreciate it. In my village, they say he who gives shoes gives life. I've never been to my village where they said that. But it sounded deep. I'm going to write that down. He who gives shoes gives life. The book says shoes are for peasants in my village. It's true. The really rich people are barefoot. Yes, that's how you know success. We're talking about ignorance. We were talking about me coming from Africa. They think that I have to live in a hut. Some people live in huts, but that's not. You can't generalize. That's my point. So BC, you see, you got me started. I was supposed to finish earlier. I don't know, my people. I'm failing at this finishing in an hour thing, but that's because sometimes my best guests, my friends are showing up, later in the day, and I need to hang out. Yeah, the reason I'm doing this anyway, I'm hanging out with y'all, So, but we're going to talk about that, and it's a topic. I'll be honest with you, it's a topic I've been afraid of touching because it's sensitive. It's sensitive because you don't want to. There's a lot of booby traps in a conversation about African immigrants and African Americans and the relationships and how we see each other, how we're supposed to see each other. It's fraught because everyone knows their own story and they're tied to their own perspectives on things. So when you come in and you tell someone, bro, you're wrong, or sister, you got it wrong, people feel it's an attack on them personally. And in some cases it is, but it doesn't mean we won't have the conversation. We must have the conversation because for the sake of our children, because it's true. Our kids ask us questions like, You know, why do you know, because of course we over here telling our kids, you know, some people, again, there I go generalizing. You know, you have some Africans who have this mentality and this idea that, oh, my kid, you know, and I won't just call it a mentality. They have a preference that I want my kid to marry another Nigerian. In itself is not, you see, in its own self, in the right context, it's not a bad thing. But because it's made in exclusion of something else. When you say that, you're saying the other side of that is I don't want my child to marry of that race, of that, you know, nationality, and that's where the prejudice drips. It's hard to make that distinction, you know, and that's why it's not worth it to try. It's better not to just have that mindset or to erase it or to just give. You have to. That's one of the mindsets you have to give up. You have to give that mindset up. I want my children to marry. And I tell you this, obviously I'm already getting into the topic and I'm not supposed to, but I'll tell you this as an attorney. One of the reasons why I pulled back on doing family law cases is, you know, I realized that there's so much bitterness in divorce and so many in child custody. It's really, it's not for the faint of heart as an attorney. Now, the other part of that is I do get involved in cases. I have taken cases where both parties are Nigerian or both parties are even from the same tribe in Nigeria. And I still see the animosity and the venom. So it makes me, so you can't tell me that, oh, a Nigerian wife is better or a Nigerian husband is better. You can't, that's not going to help me because I'm sitting in court or I'm in the middle of a family court conference and I'm watching two Nigerians go at it in terms of hating each other. Two people, they curse themselves out in Yoruba. So clearly it's not the nationality that's going to solve the problem of whether or not y'all stay together. It might help for you to speak the same language, or maybe you like the same food, or she can cook what you like to eat. That's not enough to sustain a marriage. This is what I'm learning. So when we're talking to our kids about getting married, we can't just distill it down to, hey, marry a Nigerian. Many Nigerians are suffering at the hands of the Nigerians they married. Ooh, I shouldn't talk about that. They're coming for me. Many Nigerians suffer at the hands of the Nigerian they married because it's not about whether or not he's Nigerian. The question for the is your husband a monster? You know, are you evil? Are you an evil mermaid? It could be a Nigerian monster. It could be a Yoruba evil mermaid. Sister Tori, thank you for being. You guys, I'm going to go long on this. I'm going to finish this because my people are here. Sister Tori said, I've been there to the extent that I got myself cussed out too. That's what people don't want to hear it. But as an attorney, I'm telling you, I've seen too many Nigerians hate on Nigerians that they were married to. So nobody can tell me that the magic formula for a happy marriage is marrying a Nigerian woman because you're Nigerian or marrying Yoruba because you speak the same language. Bruh, that's not what I'm seeing. That's not what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that Nigerians, Yoruba are capable of every atrocity that you want to accuse any other nationality of. We have that stuff covered. Yeah, we had that stuff covered. So we're not unique in that way. So what that means is that it goes beyond nationality. It must be that character, and in my case, as a believer, not just that, not just that, oh, I want to marry a Christian. It's like, if someone calls themselves a believer, what proof do you have of their relationship with God? And how is their relationship with God the kind of relationship that you will be happy having in your life or having or being married to? There are a lot of considerations. So if the person that I'm with, or the person that I love happens to be of a different nationality, but I love the things I love about them are things that I'm confident about, it's a different conversation. It doesn't mean the marriage will last, but it means we have a shot. But don't you come out here and tell me marrying a Nigerian is well, your child marrying a Nigerian will guarantee their happiness. You know that's not true. You know that's not true. You have friends. If your marriage is happy, it's to the glory of God. God bless you. But you know you have friends. You know people who married other Nigerians and they are suffering, or they suffered, or they broke off because it was hell. So don't put your kids in that box. I told one of the aunties that I have when we were talking about her son going to college in a predominantly white community, I said, because if you keep telling this kid he has to marry a Nigerian, he has to date a Yoruba girl, you're limiting the pool of people he can interact with, you know, romantically. The poor guy is going to have to go to a school up there in the States with like, 95% white people, 5% black people, and even a smaller percentage of those black people are from Nigeria, and even a smaller percentage of that are Yoruba people, and even a smaller percentage of that are girls. So my man is going to show up in school and start looking for the one Nigerian girl that is in the whole school. He's got to marry her. He has to marry her. He has no choice. If he doesn't marry that girl, he's going to end up with one of the white people his mother said not to marry. So when they're reading out the names of first level students, first year students, you got to listen carefully. The moment you hear Ade or Olu, please, you have to note who it is so you can marry them immediately. Because you are not the only Nigerian boy there. There's another Nigerian boy, and his mother has told him that he must come home with a Nigerian girl too. You're going to be in this university for 4 years, in this community. Better look for the Nigerians and marry them. And if you're unlucky, and there's no Nigerian girl in your community, you better have a long-distance relationship with a girl from Lagos. So that when she comes over, she'll get a green card, dump you, and then go and hang out with the guy she's been loving for years and bring him over. Don't put the children in that box. And that's my point. Don't put the children in that box. But listen, man, I gotta go at some point. And my man, my unofficial producer, BCOY, will be upset with me today. I was supposed to keep this to an hour to see if I can do it. But my people are here. I'm here to hang out. I'm gonna learn to split the videos into two. But yeah, please share the videos for some of the things we've talked about. Please share the videos. I was going to try to bring people in to have the face-to-face conversation, but I wasn't able to. Technically, it was looking like I need to do something with my setup to make that happen. So next time, please, my people, I want to say thank you, BC, Sister Ibukun. Yeah, Sister Tony, I appreciate you. Alabi is on here, man, showing up for me as always, man. I got, the people that came up way early too that joined me. Tunde dropped in. I got let me see this. Yes, I have Funke Unique Grace in the building who came through. Sister Stacy, Benga Motayo. What's going on, bro? We need to hang out. There's so much we haven't done. My big bro Francis, Barbara Olujo. Thank you so much. She's been with me at the beginning. My sister Elizabeth Buki Oladiko. Thank you so much, ma. More appreciating you. Isaiah, you joined me, man, at the start. So to my people, much love, much love, much love. So until next time on JFK, and look, BC gave me this topic. It's going to be crazy. I'm not sure we can handle it. And BC, I might have to bring you on as the guest. Oh my goodness, I can't handle it. You know what? That's it. BC, let me know if you're available. Hey, you see how you tell BCOI that we like it like that. I mean, it's got topics are Sister Tony is saying, y'all don't know Sister Tony. I owe Sister Tony an interview on my show, and I owe her to be on her show because she now when it comes, I've been trying to find a way to put information out. Sister Tony Omola is working on so much immigration questions, census questions, voting questions. We're part of an organization called DSI, and she's been gathering information even throughout this COVID period. Work, job opportunities, giveaways, food for those who are hungry. So I need to bring her on. So basically, I think it's me and you next week, and whoever else we get on to make noise. But we're going to talk about this issue, and we're going to frame the topic in a way that's catchy, so that people can get on there. Like right now, I'm thinking of a topic like saying, "You must marry a Nigerian girl." Something like that. That will make people say, are you crazy? Are you mad? Why would you say that? That's racist. I want people to have that reaction. So maybe that will bring them onto the show. And we might mess with like having a YouTube show next week. It might be all YouTube. So I think I'm ready to jump on there. So ladies and gentlemen, it's been your boy JFK, man. I've had too much fun today. And I started today by hopefully my friends will watch this. Please share this video as much as you can. I don't like to impose on people like that because you have a lot of things to share anyway, of your own stuff too. But if you can, just share it. I want people to chime in on some of these topics. And for all my friends who always accuse me of hating Donald Trump for the last time, I don't hate him. I just believe that he's incompetent. I believe that he doesn't have what it takes to be president. He's unfit. I believe that he has no empathy. I believe that he's destroying us. I believe that his enjoyment of our division is not the best in a president. I don't hate him. I just believe that he has stupid traits of stupidity. And not that as an insult, but in the dictionary sense of the word stupidity or stupid. So it's not hatred. It's just an observation. It's an opinion, and I want you to know that I don't hate him. As he's a man, created in the image of God, even though he has deviated from everything godly. But I don't hate him. I can't. I don't have the bandwidth to hate him. And if he leaves office, I probably won't care as much of what he does. So, but it's about the fact that he has impact on our lives right now as president, and that's what makes him relevant. So, speaking on what he does is just what we do as civic citizens. So, so yeah. So I'm gonna catch y'all later. Next time I'm gonna have some music to start off. I was trying to get that done today. Peace out, everybody. You guys have a good weekend. Let me know what's going on. Yeah, love y'all, man. Peace out.